Good afternoon. Welcome to Mathlete Mondays. I'm here with my good friend Andressa Chapman with Trigger Hotel Marketing. We're here today to talk about the top unfounded assumptions that revenue management and marketing have about each other.
Right.
So number one, Andressa, every director of revenue I talk to always tells me that marketers think ROI stands for really optimized images. Is that correct?
No, we do know what ROI in fact stands for, and it's just as important in our world as it is in your world, because oftentimes, in order to hang on to the marketing dollars, you have to prove that you know what you're doing with the money and that you're generating a high ROI with the dollars.
What does ROI look like? What are the metrics that you're tracking?
We track revenue. So here's the thing. Oftentimes, when you're looking at your data and you're looking at your specific marketing channels and your tactics, you have to make sure that you're kind of giving a holistic look to it, because if you're measuring the ROI for one channel versus another, it can actually lead you down the wrong path.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of marketing channels and vehicles that we use that generate awareness but don't necessarily generate that last click.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the revenue isn't attributed to them.
Gotcha.
So we really try to look at ROI at a more holistic level on the marketing side.
All right. So the other thing that typically comes to mind when I'm talking to directors of revenue about their marketing teams is they tell me that their marketers really love spam, and I'm not talking about the food here.
Spam. Well, I can say I don't like the food or the practice. We do actually on the marketing side get asked quite a bit to just, anytime there's a revenue need, let's send an e-blast and let's hit as many people as we possibly can. While that sometimes will serve the short-term goal of generating the short-term revenue, long-term it's not a good practice to just send an e-blast to everybody with the same message, because when you do that over time, your guests are going to think that you really don't know them at all and what's important to them.
Yeah.
You're just sending to them because you have a need at that moment. And so it serves to disrupt the relationship between the guest and the property, and it ends up being not good for either in the long run. It's marketing 101 to talk to your guest, the right person, in the right place, at the right time, with the right message.
Yeah.
So the practice of hitting everybody at one time over and over again is not really going to fulfill a long-term sustainable relationship or profitability for the hotel.
So another common refrain that I often hear about our hotel marketing teams is that our directors of revenue think that all they do is post on social media all day, maybe chase down the chef for some photos. What else goes into a director of marketing's responsibility?
Chasing down chefs for photos is probably one of my least favorite things that unfortunately we do have to do. But, I think oftentimes hotels will hire people with good creative skill sets to be a marketer, and thinking that they're going to need menus, they're going to need flyers for the sales team, they're going to need somebody who can do really great social media posts. And while all of that is important and does serve a lot of the function of what needs to happen in hotel marketing, they also need someone who's got really great analytical abilities, someone who knows how to take data and filter through it to get to the right information on who we need to be targeting and how we need to be targeting them, and with what message.
Okay.
And oftentimes we're just not hiring for that skill set at the property level, and that ends up being to the detriment of properties.
Gotcha. Well, and in a day like today, right, where you have platforms such as Upwork or some of the other freelance platforms that are out there, are you seeing hotels start to move some of that creative effort either to freelancers or to third-party organizations in order to really focus in on somebody that's that marketing strategist as opposed to just focusing on the creative side?
We're not seeing at the property level just yet. There's still sort of this model of there's a sales director and a revenue management director. And I think that what ends up happening is, because especially digital is so ROI focused, it's kind of assumed that the revenue manager knows how to do digital marketing. There's definitely a complementary skill set there, but their discipline is revenue management. It would be like asking me as a hotel marketer to develop a rate strategy. I would just look at you with a blank face, and it can't happen. I don't know how to do it. So I think a lot of revenue managers try to figure it out as best they can.
Yep.
Same thing on the sales side. I think they're trying to figure it out as best they can. But what usually ends up happening, I find, is that they already have a really long list of things they need to get through throughout the day. And so they end up doing those things within their discipline that they're comfortable with, that they know how to do, that they can solidly say, I got it done.
Yep.
And then the marketing stuff usually, unfortunately, ends up falling by the wayside.
Gotcha.
A lot. And which is unfortunate, because those are the things, especially on the research, like campaign development and execution side, that's helping to drive more direct bookings.
So I guess with that, right? So let's say that you're on property, and you obviously resources are a finite, capacity, right?
Yeah.
So where would you recommend starting from a marketing perspective?
I think like one of the very best places to start is often when we put out offers, or we try to launch a new package, or we try to launch a new campaign, we're often thinking about what we need as a hotel.
Yep.
Versus what the user needs, what the guest needs. And so there's opportunity. A really great thing is to talk to your digital agency about search.
Yeah.
And find out, when are people searching for, New Year's Eve in Tulum.
Yep.
And, instead of trying to force people into a booking pattern,
yeah,
play along with their booking patterns.
Yeah.
And because it's ultimately about them anyway.
So you mean you can't make somebody shift from 1 week, from Christmas week to the week after, where their kids are back at school, and
it doesn't usually work like that.
No. Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So go with their patterns.
Go with their patterns.
Yeah. Figure out a way to maximize that to your advantage.
Be hospitable to their patterns.
All right. I like it. Hospitality, right?
Yes.
All right. And perhaps one of the final items that I consistently hear from directors of revenue, right, is that I try to have these strategic conversations with my marketing managers or my director of marketing, but they don't understand what I'm talking about unless it's formulated into a pretty picture.
Are you kidding me? We understand more than pictures. To be a good marketer, you have to have analytical abilities. You have to be able to pull out the data and see data in the charts or the tables or whatever form it's put in front of you.
Yep.
And be able to kind of extract the important information and do it quickly, and then do something with that information.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say is that I feel like there's a really good opportunity between revenue management and marketing to collaborate where our skill sets are different. One thing that I find sometimes is that revenue managers or directors will have an amazing idea or an opportunity for a way to do something differently, but sometimes don't have the skill set to articulate that necessarily to ownership in a way that is easily digested.
Gotcha.
And so that's where you can utilize marketing skills creatively and visually to help bring that point to life in a way that's easy for ownership or your general manager or whoever your decision maker is to digest.
And I like that point a lot. I think that's something I wish I had learned much earlier in my career, right? I used to walk into our strategic meetings and just do a deep dive right into the data. And we go line by line by line through the reports. And of course I love it because, analytics background, I'm a revenue nerd. But, I started to find that people's eyes would just glaze over as I'm talking through all these facts and figures, right? So I agree 100% with you that sometimes by just surfacing the meaningful data as opposed to surfacing all of the data, you can be that much more impactful. And I think that the format certainly plays into that as well. And I think that there's a lot to be gained from revenue managers by consulting with their marketing team and really saying, okay, help me distill this information in a way that's going to have the broadest impact. Whereas I think we have a tendency just to speak in our language, and we lose people pretty quick.
Because we know our audiences.
Yes, exactly.
If we're doing our job, we know our audiences, and we know the way that they like to be communicated with.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good power play.
I agree, and I also think that oftentimes we think that marketing is synonymous with advertising, but marketing is so much more than that, right? And a lot of what we've talked about today is deploying this offer or having this outreach campaign. But there's so much more that goes into marketing that we haven't even talked about today. Maybe that's a good follow-up, right? That we can do somewhere down the road. The next time we're in San Francisco in a nice pink room or elsewhere. But I think that yeah, there's a tendency, just like revenue management gets so caught up on pricing and inventory controls. I think oftentimes marketing is thought of as the social media slash advertising department, and I
Yeah.
don't think that's the right way to look at it.
No, that's just this much of what we actually really do
Mm-hmm.
and what we're capable of doing for the revenue